Welcome to Heart Stories, a podcast proudly brought to you by the Caulfield Grammarians Association. I'm your host, Doreen Brown, and this season we celebrate the journeys, passions, and values of remarkable individuals, many of whom share a connection to the Caulfield community. This series is a platform for heartfelt conversations that shine a light on creativity, leadership, and a sense of community that define extraordinary lives. At Heart Stories, we believe every achievement begins with a story. Together, we'll uncover the challenges, milestones, and lessons that have shaped our guests. Through their insights, we'll explore how shared values and a commitment to making a difference inspire both individuals and communities to thrive. So thank you for joining us. Settle in, open your mind, and get ready to discover stories that inspire, empower, and unite. This is Heart Stories. Let's begin. Today on Heart Stories, we are joined by Greg Pineo. Greg is the dedicated president of the CGA Rowing Club, underscoring his deep commitment to fostering connections, community, and co-curricular engagement at Caulfield Grammar School. Greg's bond with the school is strengthened through his children and his active participation in CGA events, where his pride and passion for the school's legacy truly shine. Beyond his contributions to the CGA community, Greg brings a wealth of experience as a seasoned communications manager. With a strong background in leadership, strategic planning, and organisational development, he is a professional guiding force with the Rowing Club. Greg's expertise is backed by a master's in adult education, and his ability to lead with vision and inclusivity has made a lasting impact on those he has worked with. Greg's dedication to creating meaningful experiences and nurturing lifelong connections is an inspiration. So today we're thrilled to hear his reflections, stories, and insights about his work, his family ties to Caulfield Grammar, and his passion for building a vibrant CGA community. So Greg, welcome to Heart Stories. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Doria. And that intro's made me blush.
Oh, good.
I certainly don't have those good things to say about myself.
Well, we do, which is why
That's lovely.
you're a guest on Heart Stories for this season. So can you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself, additional to what I've just shared in your
Sure.
bio, and what being part of the Caulfield Grammar community means to you?
Well, I've recently retired, Doreen, after 38 years in the financial insurance industry. So I'm going through that lovely transition now out of the workforce into that very exciting, fascinating phase of my life, but
Yeah.
still with a very strong connection with the school. And it's actually allowed me to spend more time on that connection, which is really, really lovely. But the journey began, if I can use that word, the journey began with our children. Two children started at Caulfield, and our daughter graduated, I'm going to check this out, 2009.
Amazing.
She
Yeah.
graduated. Yes, time just flies
Nice.
like crazy, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And our son in 2011.
Yeah.
So that's where it began, and that's where, simple things like Saturday sport,
Yes.
where you actually had to be unknowingly and unwittingly involved in the community
Yeah.
and the community spirit, because Monday to Friday, you drop them off, they go to
Yes.
school, they come home, you feed them, they don't say much. But Saturday was a very different story, and through their sporting interests, which they're same parents but very different children, so they had very different sporting interests, we really got involved and made some really deep friendships.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and still do. We're still there, still
Yeah.
involved.
And although you didn't attend yourself, as you said, your children have, what was it like watching them experience the school and its culture?
Do you know, I said right from when they were in primary school, we had the advantage of living near Caulfield Grammar School, Wheelers Hill campus.
Yeah.
And right from an early age, I said, that's where I want them to go. And, parents make decisions for their children based on a whole number of criteria, but the reputation and co-education was important to us. And I have to say, I'm very happy with that decision. They had some magnificent experiences at school. Their academic achievement, I think, surely was a big part in them, but certainly the support that they got
Yeah.
while they were there. Culturally aligned, so
Hmm.
the teachers and the staff and what they were trying to achieve educationally for our children was aligned with what we were trying to achieve,
Yep.
which was really important. And then the relationships that we formed along the way. So it was wonderful to see them grow. It was wonderful to see them with their friendship groups, and we
Yep.
got heavily involved in their friendship groups. And if I could just tell you a little story,
Yes, go
if you
for
don't
it.
mind, but our daughter just recently got engaged. She lives in London now, and she
Oh,
just
beautiful.
recently got engaged. And they came home, and we organised a very, very quick engagement party for them.
Yep.
And it was like a Caulfield Grammar reunion because a lot of
Wow.
her friends now are still the friendship she's formed in school.
Wow.
And mind you, a lot of them came along with babies on the hip now
Yeah.
because that's their stage of life. But we had such a wonderful time with some of our memories. And I did say to one of them, do you remember when you all piled in the car and I took you to the Hilary Duff concert? And we laughed and laughed and laughed about it wasn't just about putting the uniform on and turning up at
Yep.
the school ground. There was a lot more to it. And, so many years later, such incredibly fond memories.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I'm sure they were probably doing this when you mentioned that now, but still
Ah, it was.
lovely.
No, she screamed. She absolutely screamed. She said, "I was listening to Hilary Duff in the car on the way over here."
Oh, love it.
And yeah, we just had a really, really lovely time. And if I can relate another story to you, but in the final year, one of our children's final year, because we were so close to the school,
Yeah.
all the students gathered at our place before the final year.
Oh, wow.
I think it was a dinner at the
Yeah.
Wheelers Hill campus, and they all gathered at our place, and they all dressed up in animal costumes,
Wow. Okay.
and they walked the 1.5 kilometres to the
To the
school
school.
as ducks and rabbits and penguins and bears. And, the cars that were driving along Gels Road were honking them as they went. And it was just such a lovely memory and
That is
such
a
a
lovely.
lovely experience. And we were just very honoured to be part of it.
Now, what stands out the most to you about the values and traditions of Caulfield Grammar, based on your children obviously attending and from your perspective as a parent?
Yeah, I think, gosh, that's a really good one. Collegiality is really important in the school, and it's very important to us.
Yeah.
Um, Forming lifelong friendships was important to us, and it's certainly embedded in the values of the school.
Yeah.
I think without a doubt, the school's role in the education of our children, they very strong values around that, which we hold as well. And education is a pathway to future success. And when I say success, it's not just corporate success. One of our very good friends, her son went to Caulfield Grammar School,
Hmm.
and he's a chippy.
Yeah.
And she credits his completion of his academic studies entirely to Caulfield. Now, his
Absolutely.
career path was trade,
Yeah.
but his friendships at the school extraordinarily strong,
Yeah.
and his academic achievement, a big part they owe to the school. So
Yeah.
it wasn't just all about getting kids to university.
Yeah.
It's about setting them up for their life pathways.
Yep. Which is hugely important.
As a
Yeah.
parent, it's critically important because you really want them to be happy and
Mhm.
successful, whatever that means.
Yes. And supported.
Absolutely supported. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that's what we got, and still do, believe it or not, to this
Yeah,
day.
to this
So,
day.
mm.
That's fabulous. Now, Caulfield does pride itself on fostering those connections across generations. How have you seen this play out in your family or in the community?
I've got an interesting perspective, Doreen, because as you said, I did not go to Caulfield Grammar as a student. I was a country boy, went to a country high school and made it into the big smoke. But so I do have a very interesting perspective as an observer,
Hmm.
and observing how graduates, alumni of Caulfield Grammar School treat their experience
Yep.
and treat each other, and
Hmm.
how they consider each other. And I'm blown away by it, to be honest, because I didn't I wasn't brought up in that environment. Love my school, don't get me wrong. There were
Yeah.
20 of us in my
Right.
in my year.
Massive difference.
Massive
Yeah.
difference through the rowing club, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. But through the rowing club, we've got members who are in their mid 70s,
Wow.
who went to Caulfield Grammar School,
Yep.
and we have our youngest would be the same age as my son. Had
Wow.
2 children, came back to rowing
Yeah.
um, after rowing in high school. So, I look at their experience, and the older member, who's a
Hmm.
golden alumni,
Yeah.
just values his experience at that school deeply, deeply and passionately.
Yeah.
And those get-togethers that the CGA organises, he would never miss
Yeah.
because of his friendships. The midpoint, now
Hmm.
we've got members in the club when Covent Grammar School was still a boys' school,
Yeah.
uh, and they have a equally strong connection, but a different attitude, so to
Right.
speak.
Yep.
It's all very they reminisce very strongly about the fun times they had, the antics they got up to with the teachers. It's still a bit schoolboyish,
Yes.
which is
Yep.
kind of cool, and they laugh and carry on about their schoolboy antics. And then you get to the younger cohort who are through the rowing club, they're reconnecting to their school rowing experience,
Right.
and therefore starting to reconnect with their school experience, if that makes sense.
It does.
So they're starting from a fitness perspective, but they're going,
Yeah.
okay, there's a bit more here than just the rowing club.
Yeah.
There's the reunions and the thank you function
Yep.
that the CGA has every year for all its affiliate clubs. It's just a little bit more about it, which I quite enjoy watching, to be
Yeah.
honest. And then with the kids are in different mode again, busy with life, very
Hmm.
social, trying to build their careers, trying to amass their savings, houses, babies, time poor, all that sort of stuff that we all went through.
Yep.
So their connection with the school is it's a little bit piecemeal. It's where we'd love to do it, where I can fit it in, but
Yeah.
it tends to be through their strong friendships that they still retain rather than the functions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah.
yeah, I have the joy of having a whole range of perspectives, which I sit back and observe with fascination, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the CGA event, which is the thank you function. Is there any particular moment or memory from one of these events that sums up what the community is all about for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I have to say the lasting impression from all of those functions is laughter.
Yep.
We laugh and laugh and laugh because over the years we've just formed very strong friendships.
Yep.
And the principal attends, and it's a very social. It's not a formal academic thing where he's
Yes.
giving a speech. It's very social. So we have a great chat with him, the head of the CGA. We've been working together for so many years. Reminisce about some of the funny things that happened throughout the year.
Yep.
Um, I was very, very, very honoured in 2023 to receive the Don Worth Medal for Services to Caulfield Grammar,
Wow. Yep.
which was really, really lovely because, as I've said to you, I didn't go to Caulfield Grammar, and in my speech I said I feel like quite a fraud because I'm not an alumni of this amazing school, but
Hmm.
very, very happy to be part of it and
Yeah.
very happy to be recognised in that way. So, yeah, they're great fun. They're absolute great fun. And, there's a lot of work that goes in with the affiliates have organised, especially in the football club. That's a massive operation logistically. And
Yep.
the cricket club's another one. And you get together at the end of the year and you go, we did it
Yep.
again. You know,
How did we do it?
how did we do it? How
But
did
we
we do
did
it?
it.
We did it.
Now, what role do you believe schools like Caulfield play in building lifelong connections and fostering personal growth? I think we've touched on this already a little bit, but not just for students that are currently attending, but also for the alumni and their families, which is very relevant, particularly in your situation.
Yeah, to be honest, alumni can't do it without the family.
Right.
You can't
Yeah.
do it without the family. I mean, as a
No.
student, you can't do it without your parents.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're actively involved in the school after your school years, you can't do it without the support of your family
No.
because, you know, you're working on it or you're absent or you're you know, going to some rowing event or whatever. You know, what I really like about it is it does include not just the students and the ex-students. It
Yeah.
recognises the value of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the Caulfield community, Caulfield knows it's a community
Yeah.
of members from all aspects of that school environment,
Yeah.
including ex-teachers, because
Right.
they are
Yeah.
still a big part of that community. You know,
Yeah.
they had such an impact on us as the kids were going through school.
Makes
So
sense.
yeah, I think they embrace the true sense of community.
Yeah. And it really shines through.
Totally
I wish
does.
I went there too.
Uh, oh, I do too.
Now, you are the CGA Rowing Club president. What initially drew you to this role, and how has it deepened your connection with the school?
Now, nothing draws you to rowing.
Not the early mornings or the
Nothing draws you to rowing. You fall into it. You think it might be a good idea at the time. My daughter was, and still is, a very passionate. She was a rower at school and then went
Mhm.
on, because she's tiny,
Yeah.
she went on to be a very successful cox after she left school
Yeah.
and rowing coach as well.
Yeah.
And she was very, very passionate. Our son less so. He did row, but it
Mhm.
wasn't his basketball. It's his passion now, but he's not as tall as most basketballers, but he still loves it. So we were drawn in by her. We were members of the Penny Father Club committee, so we
Uh-huh.
got involved in supporting the rowers in competition,
Yep.
and that's where I learned to understand a bit more about rowing.
Yep.
And then I was very kindly asked to MC the rowing presentation night
Mhm.
when the kids were still at school, and I'm still doing it today.
Oh my goodness.
Which is every year I go, it's okay, you don't have to ask me to do it. I'm more than happy if you've got somebody younger and fresher and more exuberant. And they go, no, 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 happy to have you, which is really lovely. That's a
Yeah.
great catch up. Then my wife said, oh, I'd love to learn how to row. And I said, well,
Great.
well done.
Yeah.
See you later. I'm not getting up early Sunday morning to drive into the Yarra to do rowing. Anyway, so I think I managed to get away with it for about 12 months. And then she said, oh, I don't want to do it on my own. Can you come?
Right.
And then that was it. That was just the beginning of it. And look, you know, there are a number of ex-students in the club,
Yep.
but there are also a number of parents of students in the club, some of whom were parents of kids the same age as my kids. So I knew them
Right.
through this Saturday sport.
Right.
And we're
Yeah.
still there. We're still doing
You're
it.
still there.
Still there. And then we got involved, and we got involved in training. We got involved in competition, and then the previous committee decided it might be a good idea if I take over the role of presidency, which was lovely, and I'm still there. I think it's been well over 10 years now.
Yeah.
I'm a stayer.
Yeah. It sounds like it. It sounds like it. So, what makes the rowing club so special, and how does it continue to engage past students and their families?
Now, a couple of things. A lot of the parents who started rowing have done so because of the kids. They
Right.
understand the lingo. They understand it all. Well, I'd like to give it a go,
Yeah.
right? So, parents of students who rowed and ex-students who rowed are
Mhm.
pretty much the cohort that we deal with, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, people who want to come back to rowing. I think first and foremost, I've left school, or my kids have left school.
Mhm.
Life has got in the way, and I need to do something to get fit again.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in rowing, or I'd like to go back to rowing. I
Mhm.
think it starts with I've got a little bit of time in my life,
Yeah.
which is a big statement because in 20, 30s years, lives are very busy.
Mhm.
I've got a little bit of time in my life for me, and I want to get fit.
Mhm.
And rowing it's a great way of getting fit.
Yep.
It's so much better on your knees than running, and I'm going to give it a go. Right. So I
Yep.
think that's the impetus for starting.
Starting it. Yep.
And the impetus for staying is it's extraordinarily social. So we
Mhm.
do compete. We have competed. We've competed at nationals. We've competed at states. I don't have any competitive rowers at the moment. We did have the young mother that I spoke to you about. She was
Yeah.
very keen to get back into competition. So we have a pathway with another club that is full on about competition, and she became a state champion this year,
Amazing.
which is incredible. One of our founding members was Male Masters Rower of the Year twice. One of our current members was Female Masters Rower of the Year before last.
Wow.
So there are pathways to competition
Yeah.
for those who really want to push it, but the majority are all about, let's get in a boat, let's reignite the passion for rowing,
Mhm.
or let's learn
Yep.
about the passion for rowing and get fit along the way. So last week, because the weather's been amazing,
It has.
I've hosted twilight rowing on Albert Park Lake.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I take the crew out, and it's pitch black,
Yeah.
absolutely pitch black. But the lights of this city reflect off the lake. So as a cox, I can see where we're going,
Yep.
and there's nobody else on the lake.
No.
So you've
So you
got the
can't
whole
bump
lake.
into anyone.
You can't bump into anybody apart from the swans. And you've got the bats flying overhead. You've got
Mhm.
the water birds feeding. You've got the city just buzzing around you. The lights of the city are magnificent. So you have those sorts of experiences, or you hop into the boat at the Yarra and you row all the way up to Scotch College, not at race pace, which is
Yeah.
what they did at school.
Yep.
You actually row up to Scotch College in a nice, relaxed way, looking at the city from the banks or inside the Yarra River, which nobody gets to see.
No.
So it's those sorts of experiences that people really enjoy.
Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Love it. You're getting me excited about rowing. I might have to look at my local clubs and see what's happening
Exactly,
here.
exactly. Give it a go. And look, from a fitness perspective, it really is. It's a very good all over exercise regime because it is legs, it is abs, and it is upper body all in the
Yeah.
one movement.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get that as well. So
Added bonus.
added bonus, exactly
Added
right.
bonus. Now, I did mention in your intro and bio that you've spent many years as a communications manager with
Mm,
leadership and organizational development expertise. How do
mhm.
you think that shaped your approach to leading within the rowing club?
I must admit, in my role,
Hmm.
it was very much linked to observing human behaviour.
Right.
And a big part of my role was employee engagement through
Hmm.
communication.
Yep.
And if you want to engage your employees, you really need to understand what makes them tick.
Hmm.
And that's a case of being open to whatever they think,
Yep.
however they feel,
Hmm.
and then sitting back and assessing how I can work to take all that into account to create, for example, a communication strategy that's going to resonate with them.
Yep. Which is not easy.
No. Well, we've had a recent election. Talk to some
Yeah.
of the political parties that didn't do so well. It is not easy,
No.
and in a lot of ways you just have to subvert you.
Hmm.
I know nothing. Educate me,
Right.
and then be really curious. Doesn't mean you have to agree,
No.
right? But be really curious about what makes people tick. And then, okay, well, what does that mean for my organization,
Hmm.
or in this case, my rowing club?
Yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
So, what's the mood like? What are they thinking? What makes them tick? So, you know, um, simple things like I've hurt my knee,
Yeah.
right? So, I'll need assistance to get in and out of the boat, but I don't want to give up rowing. All right. So, we'll modify the way we approach a rowing session
Hmm.
to incorporate the fact that somebody needs assistance. For example,
Yeah.
Tiny,
It's a
tiny
great
example,
example. Yep.
right? But, unless you're open and inquiring about what your members or your employees are thinking and feeling,
Yeah.
you it's a bit hit and miss in your strategy.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've taken from my work life and applied in this context. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what advice do you have for current students or recent graduates who are just starting to explore leadership opportunities within their own lives?
Okay. All right. Now I'll caveat this with this is just my opinion,
Yep.
right? And everybody is different.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, have a very strong sense of self. Who am I?
Yep.
And maybe apply that same inquiring mind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? What am I good at? As one of my mentors said once, be a generalist in everything and an
Mm-hmm.
expert in one.
Yep.
So what's my area of expertise and what are some of the things that I need to learn at a level that gets me through,
Yep.
right? And also having said that, if you pick an area of expertise, you work damn hard for the rest of your career to make sure that that is still your expertise. Because as
Yes.
we know in communications, the communications landscape today is very different to the one that we began in,
Correct.
right? So,
Yep.
um, so I think have a very strong sense of who am I
Yep.
to start with, and then the next thing will be who are you?
Mm-hmm.
So who are the people I'm working with?
Yep.
And as you know, I don't mean just their names, although remembering
No.
their names is important. But what makes them tick? Who are my leaders? Or
Mm-hmm.
what makes them tick?
Yep.
What are the objectives of the organisation for which I work?
Mm-hmm.
Align all of these things, which again is no mean feat,
No.
right? But alignment's really important because if the organisation's values don't align with you, you're always going to struggle. And there might be a little bit of fact finding there,
Agree.
working out what works for you. I had a very interesting conversation once with somebody. Would you ever work for a tobacco company? Those sorts of things. And
Yeah.
you've really got to make a bit of a values assessment for those
Yep.
sorts of things. So do a bit of alignment. Then if all those things fall into place, a couple of we were laughing. My son's group of friends got together on the weekend, and they very kindly said, "Oh, can you come along?" My wife and I, could we come along? We'd love to see you, which is so cool.
That's so lovely.
And somebody asked me, what was my secret, and I said, I just waited for everyone else to resign,
Okay.
which is not, well, it's not entirely true, but it's not entirely false, right?
Right.
So there is something to be said for persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People can expect a lot in a short period of time and move
Yeah.
on.
Especially in this day and age. Yeah.
And persistent. If you're in the right job,
Yeah.
if you're not in the right job, get out.
Yeah.
You're only going to make yourself unhappy. But if
No.
you're in the right job, and
Mm.
yes, things will be tough, but if you can just
Stick it out.
stick it out a bit,
Yeah.
opportunities do arise that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
So that helps. But and a career of constant learning. So
Yes.
you'll see in my bio, there's a few things listed about. I think I've been back to uni 4 times,
Yeah.
and the reason for that was I got into a position, thankfully, because somebody decided they thought I could do it,
Yeah.
that I didn't think I could do.
Right.
And when you get into these positions, sometimes your learning is not going to be obtained within the organisation itself. They don't have the time to
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
nor the resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to go out externally to get the inputs that you need to actually get ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Amazing. Yeah. A life of continuous learning. It
A
just makes
life of,
things exciting too.
it
How
totally does.
boring would it be if we all just stopped learning and, yeah, didn't grow or progress? any further. It would
Exactly.
just be quite,
But
quite dull.
and I don't want to undersell it either, but it's damn hard.
Yeah,
It's hard. I was doing my master's and we had 2 kids in primary school.
yeah. That's
And,
huge.
we thought going to uni was hard.
Yeah,
And you just had yourself. Believe me, it gets harder. So,
it does.
yeah, I think you summed it up beautifully. A life of continuous learning.
Yeah,
Once you've got that alignment, you're in a job you like,
yeah.
in an organization with values that are consistent with yours.
Hmm.
You've got a bit of balance, although balance is a wavering topic. Sometimes you will have no balance whatsoever.
Yeah,
And that's where sticking it out often helps.
comes in. Yep.
And yeah, continue to learn. Be that expert. Always be that expert in one thing.
Great advice. I've learnt so much from you through this conversation. Amazing. Now, if you could sum up Caulfield Grammar in one word or phrase,
Mm.
what would it be and why?
All right. So one word would be friendships. I
Love
thank
it.
you for giving me the option to go phrase. Lifelong
Yes.
friendships.
Yep.
Lifelong friendships. And I can't underplay it. The number of get-togethers that we have with either friends of my children
Hmm.
or parents of friends of my children,
Yep.
or in some cases, the staff at Caulfield Grammar
Amazing.
School,
Yeah.
and it really has been lifelong friendships,
Yep.
and they will continue.
And it's
And
very unique, isn't it? It's in comparison to, other schools and institutions. It's quite a unique aspect
I
for
can tell you
for
now,
Caulfield.
you will never get that from your working life.
No.
You will never get it from your working. You'll make some great friends,
Yeah.
absolutely. But after 38 years in the workforce, I would say there are half a dozen
Hmm.
that I would still have coffee with,
Yeah.
but we're not going to the Christmas party together,
No.
which is
Understand.
what we're doing with the Caulfield community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's a very unique experience. So, I'd really recommend, and I know life is busy, I know it's hectic, but if you haven't engaged with the Caulfield community, just stick your toe in the water.
Yeah.
If there's a reunion coming up, go.
Yeah.
If there's some way of getting involved in whether it's a CGA affiliate, you haven't hit the cricket ball for a while,
Yeah.
just go.
Yeah.
You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Love it. Thank you again, Greg. It's been a beautiful conversation that we've
Thank
had
you
with
for
you
having me.
today. Good luck with the retirement. I'm sure you'll still
Thank
be
you.
doing lots of things,
Lots of
but it's
rowing.
been lots of rowing,
Lots of rowing.
lots of rowing, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Heart Stories. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their story, wisdom, and passion with us today. Their insights remind us of what makes creativity, leadership, and community so impactful in shaping meaningful lives. Brought to you by the Caulfield Grammarians Association, this podcast celebrates the shared values that unite us and inspire us to grow, connect, and lead with purpose. We hope today's conversation has sparked reflection on your own story and the legacy you're building. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story. Share it with your friends, family, or anyone who could use a dose of inspiration. And be sure to join us next time for another powerful conversation with a guest who has a story worth telling. But until then, take care, stay curious, and continue making an impact. This is Heart Stories. See you next time.